So you guys, if anybody's not here, you can tell them to go listen to what I talk about. So we're going to talk about relationships and leadership. Like we talked about accountability. I want to talk about relationships and some questions I'm thinking about. Think about this. Why do you think relationships matter for leadership? What does it mean to be a relational leader? And do you need to be an extrovert to be a good leader? So first question, some of you unmute and tell me what you think. Why do relationships matter for leadership?
Because you need to build relationships. Oh, go.
No, yeah, you go.
Like you need to build relationships with people to because leaders need people with them. So you need to have the skills to connect with people.
Yeah. What do you think, Dana?
Just more along that line of if you don't really get to know the people you're supposed to be leading, then they're not really going to want to follow you or listen to you, and they're not going to respect you at all.
Yeah, that's good. How do you guys think, somebody answer this question, how do you as a leader build relationships with people? Like what kind of things should you be doing to build relationships with them?
One way how you can build relationships with someone is if you help someone, often it will you can build a relationship with them because they know you more, so they trust you and they know who you are, so they can come to you every other time they need help as well. And ultimately you can become a good relational leader.
Yeah.
Even just talking to them, just having conversations with them frequently makes them have makes you build your relationship with them, so they trust you more.
Yeah. Trust is a big thing in leadership, right? And they're not going to trust you if you don't build a relationship. How many of you know a kid, or raise your hand if you can think of 2 names of kids that you worked with at Hellier. Raise your hand if you can remember some of them. Do you remember anybody's name, any of the kids? 4 people raised their hand. Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of the ways you build a relationship is by remember somebody's name, right? And you remember who kids are. What does it mean to be a relational leader? Do you have to be an extrovert? Somebody want to talk about that?
I think you have to be to some degree, because I know that if you're not really willing to put yourself out there and be the one to initiate the conversations and be the one who goes up to somebody that you don't know, then you're not really going to be a good leader.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't really agree with that because I myself am pretty introverted, and I have the confidence to put myself out there and interact with kids, and if I need to take leadership I can, but that doesn't stop me from being completely exhausted and drained afterwards. I think it just takes more of a toll on me, but I still have the capacity to be a leader.
It's helpful but not necessary.
Well, and it's also how you're leading, all you guys, the way you guys led the children was all different based on who you are, but you were all trying to be engaged with them. And extroversion is things that maybe you're louder than somebody else, or maybe you're more comfortable being up front, but you could be an extrovert and be quiet and sit next to somebody.
I'm introverted and I'm a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, everybody, introverted, extroverted. To be a relational leader means to just be engaged with people and to connect with them. Can I get somebody to read this passage for me? Somebody want to read that?
Someone be a leader.
As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. And as Jesus reclined at table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were reclining with Jesus and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? But when he heard it, he said, Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick go and learn. Wait, what? But those who are sick, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners.
What is that? Somebody tell me, what does that tell me about Jesus and relationships? You know, what are some clues in here about what Jesus did and then what we need to do as relational leaders? Who wants it?
He's basically saying like you shouldn't only like focus on the people who have it all together or have it figured out. Like you should branch out and help the people who need help.
Yeah.
Or like help someone who doesn't really have a figure in their life.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting if you think of a story, and this is what I want you all to do right now. Think of a story that you've heard in the Bible where Jesus has been relational. Okay? Think about that right now. Throw it, put it up on the chat. And while I talk about this, I love this because Jesus goes and says, he starts with Matthew, who's the sinner and the tax collector, and says, "Come with me." So he's trying to be relational to people maybe who are on the outside. I think of the children. There was that Jayloni, and maybe there was some other child who were kind of maybe on the fringe, who were struggling, and a lot of you guys reached out to them. It's like the kid who's sitting by themselves. Jesus showed that he was a relational leader and that relationships matter because he went over and he engaged those people. He sat down with them. He had food with them. He was about bringing people into fellowship, not pushing them away. And I think with the Pharisees, they were doing the exact opposite. They were trying to control people and push them away. They weren't good enough. And Jesus was just the opposite. So it really bugs me when people talk about Christians and not being welcoming of everyone. And that's what Jesus shows me in this passage. So I wanted you to think about a story in Scripture where Jesus was, investing in people and loving him. So did you put something on chat? I can't even see it anymore, so I guess I can't look at it until we finish with this part. Did you write down things? Yes? Shake your head if you write down something. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. This other passage is just a reminder about being a relational leader as a Christian. That's this commandment that Jesus gave us, where he talks about loving God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. The first commandment is that we're in a relationship with God. And the second is that we love our neighbor as ourselves. So we're supposed to be engaged with other people. That's why it's kind of weird right now. How do we serve other people when we're in our home by ourselves? So there are some questions that I want you to answer about being a relational leader. And they're here, but they're also in your assignment. And so let me see what you guys are putting down here. Talking about he reached out to an adulterer to come to him and do good. He was preaching to crowds, investing them. Jesus was a demon-possessed woman, the lady at the well, right? And then, David, why did you copy Will's answer?
Wait, he copied mine.
Lucy's talked about the children, like Jesus was saying, welcome children. And by the way, Lucy, I love your background. I just want to say, I love it. I love it. So not everybody, so when I say everybody put something on the chat, you should all do that. That would be something that we do because it's too hard for us to all talk over each other. So I want you to keep thinking about people who Jesus invested in. He cared about people. He loved them, even if they were on the outs, even if they weren't the cool people. He was a relational leader because relationships matter. He did reach out to Matthew. He reached out to Zacchaeus. Do you remember Zacchaeus, that song? You know, Frayne, sing me the song about Zacchaeus. No, just kidding, Frayne. You don't have to. But
Ryan,
there's
please
a
sing it.
song- Yes. About Zacchaeus being a man in the tree, and he's a tax collector. What?
I'll sing it.
Okay, go.
Wait. Wait.
Do you know the Zacchaeus song?
No.
Okay, I was going to be so impressed if you did. Oh my gosh.
Actually, kind of if I sing it.
Go ahead.
He's gonna
You wanna sing it
Google
for me?
that.
You wanna sing it for me? Sing this. Hey, never mind.
Rain, you're a disappointment.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of
Okay.
toxic.
What?
A bit toxic.
All right, so that's your word today. As you guys think about what you're going to end up doing after the break, probably will be coming up with your own kind of presentation about what you believe a leader is to be. We've talked about a leader and wisdom and humility and love, accountability, and now we're talking about relationships, that relationships matter. And the other thing about relationships is you have to kind of foster relationships, and you have to take care of them. So, you know, at this time, maybe if you have friendships or whatever that you need to take care of, or people who are depending on you, maybe this is an opportunity that you can kind of foster those relationships. All right, those are the words. So your assignment then is to do the questions on relationships. There's a few of them. Again, they're pretty simple. You could knock them out very quickly. And then do your James quiz. Again, this is your own opinion. I want to know what you think. So you don't need to copy off the internet. Or you don't need to, you know, I try to make these more about your opinion than anything else. Okay, do you guys have any questions on anything?
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
For the James quiz, didn't we already do it? Like I swear we did it on paper. Like we wrote 5 sentences
I
about.
remember too.
We did the
You
same.
did. And it was on James chapter 3. So today you're doing James chapter 1. So instead of having a test, you have no James test. I'm asking you to kind of respond to James by just doing a little quiz. Won't take you that long. And we'll do another James quiz next week, just so it's reminding us of kind of what we learned. And it's like, remember James, he talks about, you know, you look in a mirror and then you forget who you are. A lot of times you can look at scripture and then just totally forget within 2 minutes. I like August is bench pressing his cat. I think that's really awesome. You look at scripture and then you walk away and you have no idea what you read. So I want to give you a little time to interact with that. So no big test on James, just a little quiz. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to be around. I'll be around during office hours. And I'll be here and I'll try to record these things in case you can't be there. But if you have questions, you can always email me. All right. And then I'm hoping that we'll talk a little bit more. One project I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you develop what to do for outreach to give to the people for next year. What did we do well? What mistakes did we make? And we're going to do that a little bit after the break. All right. Okay. Huh?
Do we have to come to this class every time, or like is it going to be like come like once a week and like I'll give you what you have to do?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be here every time, and I'm going to record. I'm going to do these little lectures. I'm going to record them, put it there if you come. I'd love to check in with you at the beginning of the week. So if you don't want to come every time, at least come at the beginning. But I'm going to be here every time. I don't know what else to do with myself. I just sit around. So I'll come and I'll talk about each leadership virtue for about 10 minutes and hang out and answer any questions and pray with you. And then you can go on your way. All right?
Mr. Gallagher, I have one last question.
Yes.
When is the quiz closed? Or like when do we have to get it done by?
You have to get it done by, so today is Thursday, so by Monday.
Monday,
Okay.
9 a.m.
Wait, is that our only homework?
Yeah, just the questions on relationships and leadership. There's a few of them. Again, both those things will not take you long. You could sit down and do them right now and be done.
Okay.
Okay? All right. And then, something comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't do it or whatever. Just talk to me. This is all new for all of us. So, let me know if you're struggling or if you need help or support. Just email me. All right.
Do you know if there's any way we could try and like talk to our counselors and be able to take next year as a service class for Bible? Because I know technically we have to do philosophy, but since this semester got cut
Philosophy was the
short.
best Bible class that I ever took.
You know what? The best thing I would tell you is put that, any kind of input like that, I would send to your counselor, and you could send it to Mrs. Delkey also, who's the Bible department chair, and do that, because this is all new.
But
You're right.
honestly,
You bring up a good point.
I already tried Dana.
No, I don't want to take philosophy. I want to do community
you
outreach.
taking
again.
philosophy.
Maybe if all of us
religion,
try.
Yeah, we got dipped.
We're
gotta
taking outreach
We don't
again.
have as
But-
much time.
Me taking philosophy of religion made me think to major in theology. So